When the internet began, bulletin board services, or BBS, became the first online communities of the so-called information superhighway. Using their phone lines, people logged in from all over America to talk about sports, games, movies, and on one BBS in particular, share their ghost stories. Over time, those communities all went dark, except for one lone server that continues to operate somewhere in an unknown part of Pennsylvania's Rust Belt. A relic of the 1990s, veiled in mystery, it is a digital archive of humanity's strangest encounters with the unknown, as told by the people who experienced them. My name is Brandon Schexnayder, and you are listening to Fear Daily.
Subject: School Reunion, Part 1. User: Who11me. Posted May 20th, 1996.
I wasn't even planning to go to the reunion. 20 years out of high school, and the last thing I wanted was to sit in a rented banquet hall making small talk with people I ain't thought about in years. But the invitation came in the mail. Thick cardstock, navy border, neat calligraphy, and I'll be honest, curiosity got the better of me. The address on the envelope was correct. My name spelled right, inside a smiling class photo of 1976's graduating seniors. And yeah, there I was, second row, awkward smile. The problem was, I didn't graduate in 76. I was class of 78. I should have tossed it. Instead, Saturday night, I put on my only decent sport coat and drove to the hotel downtown. The ballroom was already buzzing when I walked in. The kind of dim lighting that makes everyone look better than they are. Music from the era piped through cheap speakers. People turned as I stepped inside, their faces lighting up in recognition. "Jack, you made it." A woman with big hair and a rhinestone brooch wrapped me in a hug. I pulled back, trying to place her. Nothing. "I almost didn't," I muttered. She laughed like I was joking and pulled me toward a table near the back. "Everyone's gonna want to see you." I sat down, scanning the room. It wasn't that I didn't know anyone, it was worse. I knew none of them. Strangers, 50-odd faces, smiling, clapping me on the back, pouring me drinks, telling me stories I had no part in. "You remember senior prank?" the guy asked, his cheeks ruddy with whiskey. "When you drove that tractor onto the football field?" I forced a chuckle, but my stomach nodded. "That never happened." "You still working at the Gazette?" another woman chimed in. The Gazette? I worked for an auto parts distributor most of my life. The more they talked, though, the more these details piled up. A version of me I didn't recognize. I slipped away under the excuse of needing the restroom. Out in the hall, away from their chatter, I pressed against the cool wallpaper and took a breath. Something was wrong. Near the registration desk, a long table displayed memorabilia. Yearbooks, trophies, faded photographs. I flipped open the yearbook, class of 76. My picture stared back at me. Name underneath, Jack Peterson. Same eyes, same lopsided smile, except the quotes, the clubs, the sports, none of it was mine. Debate team, honor roll, future journalist, I wasn't any of those things. I slammed the book shut. Back in the ballroom, someone tapped a microphone. The chatter dimmed. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC said, "a very special treat tonight. One of our own, someone who's carried the spirit of this class with him for 20 years. Please welcome Jack Peterson. There was applause, chairs scraping, and all eyes turned to me. I froze, deer in headlights. "Speech, Jack," someone shouted. My mouth went dry. My legs carried me forward anyway, up to the podium like I was being pulled on strings. I stared out at him, row after row of expectant faces. I gripped the wood until my knuckles whitened. Silence stretched. Mike hummed. I don't know any of you." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Someone clapped, thinking it was a joke, but the faces didn't break. They just stared, wide-eyed, smiling too hard. I bolted through the side door, down the corridor, out into the parking lot. The cold air slapped me awake. My car was right where I'd left it. I fumbled the keys, slid inside, locked the doors, hands shaking. I started the engine. Headlights cut across the asphalt and froze on a row of cars I almost recognized. The same makes and models I remembered from high school. A 72 Nova, a rusty Ford Pinto. Even the damn green station wagon old Mr. Pritchard used to drive the football team in. I killed the headlights and sat in the dark. I needed proof. Something solid. I pulled the invitation from my pocket. Thick paper, navy border, same handwriting, except now the date didn't read 20-year reunion. It said 40-year. Class of 1976. Tonight. That made no sense. I opened my wallet. My driver's license stared back at me. Jack Peterson. Same address, same face, birth year 1958, which would have made me 38, but I was 36, or at least I thought I was. I drove home on autopilot, streets warping between the familiar and the slightly off, stop signs where yield signs should be, storefronts with names close but not quite right. At home, the strangeness deepened. The framed photos on my wall were wrong. Same house, same living room, but vacations I never took, people I never met. One picture showed me in front of a typewriter. Headline tacked to the wall behind, "Local reporter wins award." I staggered back, bile rising in my throat. The phone rang. I picked it up, desperate for an anchor. "Jack?" a voice said, soft, warm, and familiar. It was Sarah, my high school girlfriend. I hadn't spoken to her in 2 decades. "They said you ran out. You okay?" I swallowed hard. "Sarah, what the hell is happening?" She chuckled. "You always were a kidder." But then her tone shifted. "Don't fight it, Jack. You belong here with us." Then a click, and the line went dead. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I sat in the dark, flipping through photo albums that told a life I never lived. A whole history where I was someone else. Around 3 a.m., headlights swept across the window. I peeked through the blinds. A caravan of cars pulled up out front, same ones from the lot. The Nova, the Pinto, doors opening, figures climbing out. My classmates, smiling, waving. Someone held a yearbook under their arm. Another carried a bouquet of balloons. And Sarah, in the middle of them all, looked up at my house and said clear as day, "Come on, Jack, time to come home."
Subject: The Hag of Mill Creek. User: NCreekDNT Rise. Posted November 2nd, 1996.
Every town's got one story that doesn't quite leave you alone. Ours was the Hag of Mill Creek. Folks said she lived under the bridge, waiting for kids stupid enough to cross after midnight. She'd crawl out of the water with hair like wet rope and teeth like rusty nails. If you heard her whisper your name, you were already hers. We all laughed about it during the day, the way kids do, but nobody I knew ever crossed the bridge after dark, not alone at least. I saw her once when I was 13. It was late October, a night cold enough to make your breath hang heavy. Me and two buddies had snuck out to smoke Marlboros we'd stolen from Jeff's older brother. We sat on the guardrail near Mill Creek, flicking ash into the black water. Jeff dared me to walk across. Said only babies believe in ghost stories. So I did. Halfway across, the boards groaned under my sneakers. The water below looked like an oil slick, and then I heard it. My name, soft as a sigh, rising with the mist. Eddie. I froze. Something pale shifted under the planks, a shape dragging itself along the current. A hand broke the surface, long fingers, skin hanging loose, nails sharp and black, and then came her face. Sunken eyes, lips cracked like old leather, hair plastered to her skull. She smiled, teeth crooked and wet, and whispered my name again. I bolted. I didn't stop running until I hit Jeff's front yard. Swore to him I was not lying. He laughed it off, but his laugh sounded thin. I never went back, not at night, but she wasn't done with me. Years passed. I graduated and took a job hauling scrap metal. Stayed in town because where else was I going to go? Jeff left for the Navy. My other buddy, Mark, worked construction. We still drank beer on weekends, still pretended we weren't stuck. The Hag turned into one of those stories you tell at parties just to see who shivers. And then, last fall, Mark disappeared. He'd been working a late job, pouring concrete out by the highway expansion. Never came home. They found his truck parked crooked near Mill Creek Bridge. Headlights on, door open, no sign of him. Sheriff said maybe he ran off. Maybe he owed money, but I knew better. That night, I dreamed about her. I was back on the bridge, 13 again, the boards wet and sagging. She rose up out of the water, hair floating like weeds, whispering not just my name this time, but Mark's too. Eddie, Mark, Eddie. Over and over, like a song. I woke up with mud under my fingernails. I tried to ignore it, threw myself into work, drank more, slept less, but the pull got worse. Every time I drove past that stretch of road, I felt her waiting. Every puddle on the street shimmered with her reflection. Some nights, I swore I heard chains dragging across my porch, and finally, I gave in. It was late October again. almost Halloween. Same bite in the air, same heavy sky. I parked near the bridge, headlights off, and walked out onto the boards, my boots echoing in the dark. The creek below churned slow and black. No frogs, no crickets, just silence. And then the whisper, Eddie. She rose up smoother this time, like she'd been expecting me. Her face hadn't changed. Same sunken eyes, same cracked smile, but she looked hungrier. In her hands, she clutched Mark's hard hat, soaked and dripping. I wanted to run, but my legs locked. She slid closer, water pouring off her shoulders, nails clicking against the railing. She didn't climb all the way up. She just leaned there, whispering, "Time to come home, Eddie." I do not remember deciding. One second I was frozen, the next I was kneeling, staring into her eyes. They weren't dead like I thought. They were alive, bright, with something ancient and sharp. She smelled like river mud and old fires. She brushed her nail against my cheek, cold and sharp enough to burn. Then she slipped back into the water, dragging the hard hat with her, vanishing into the black. The boards under me went slick. I scrambled back to my truck, shaking, mud soaking my jeans. And when I told Jeff, he hung up on me. Said he didn't want to hear it. Said it wasn't funny, but I know what I saw. And I know what I felt. That she wasn't done. She'd taken Mark, and maybe she'd been waiting for me since I was 13. Now, every night, I hear her, in the pipes, in the gutters, in the wind slipping through the trees. Sometimes I wake up with my sheets damp, the smell of creek water filling my room. Last night, just past midnight, there was a knock at the door, soft and deliberate. I told myself it was the wind or some drunk kid, but when I opened it, the porch was empty. Empty, except for a trail of muddy footprints, not leading away from the house, leading in. I froze there in the doorway, every hair on my neck standing up. Behind me, down the dark hallway, I heard it again, her whisper, not out on the bridge this time, not in my dreams. Eddie. And that's when I realized she'd finally found her way inside.
Fear Daily is an independent podcast hosted by Brandon Schexnayder and written by Brennan Storr, with Joanna Smith serving as the consulting editor, audio production by Rachel Boyd, and sound design by Southern Gothic Media. This podcast is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to real events or locations, is entirely coincidental. Ad-free versions of Fear Daily are available now on your favorite podcast apps. For more information, visit feardaily.com. But move fast, before the server goes offline.